What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, and I have done a lot of videos that I have been in love with, but I'm telling you right now, this is probably the favorite video that I have of all time, and because it answers a key question that I get asked more often than anything else on this channel, and that is, what is the better investment for long-term buying and holding, investing and collecting here in the Pokemon space? Is it booster boxes or is it ETBs? And I can tell you, in the last couple days, I've looked through 8 years of data. We've looked at 31 different sets. I promise you, if you can stay through to the very end, there is a definitive answer to this. We know over the last 8 years which of these products has hands down outperformed the other, and I'm hoping that we can use that information to help us play chess when everybody else plays checkers. As we're looking at Scarlet and Violet, as we're looking at Sword and Shield, which is sunsetting, we can use this information to make some great buying, selling, and holding decisions here in the Pokemon space. With all of that being said, I can't believe I'm about to say this. We're barreling down on 1,000 subscribers. Listen, I am doing a big giveaway at my local children's cancer hospital. I'm going to do it no matter what, but I would love it if it coincided with our 1,000 subscriber so we can make it a big to-do. You also know I gave a big giveaway at 500 subs. I want to do the same thing at 1,000 subs. I say all of that because I'm asking, I'm pleading, I'm begging. Hey, listen, if you love this content, if you've been watching this channel, hit the subscriber button. It helps me out a ton. It's a great way to say thank you. Give us a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, and that's my selfless plug for the beginning of this video. Without further ado, let's get into what you're here for, and that is the data. Now, I always start off with showing you guys behind the curtains because, listen, I never want you to think that PikaPikaPapa is doing some back napkin math. You don't have to pause this or zoom in on it or anything like that. We're going to get into all this in great detail in the next couple slides. But I just wanted you to see where all this came from. So we have ETB market value, we have the MSRP, we have Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, we're looking at those as well. Booster box market value, MSRPs, we have the age of everything, right? Because that's what gives us our rate of return, because that's how we normalize and that's how we compare sets and boxes and booster packs and all that stuff from different eras as we look at the rate of return, and that's what we use to compare apples to apples here. I'm really excited to do this, and we're gonna get into the Sword and Shield era without further ado right now. So here's what we have. We start off with the Sword and Shield era. We have Elite Trainer box prices, Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box prices, and then we have the booster box prices. If there's two different variants for an Elite Trainer box, like we know that, you know, Evolving Skies has a couple different art variants, a lot of these have a couple different art variants. All I do if there was a price difference, I just averaged them out to give us the average price of the two different art variants. I will say this, the Pokemon Center ETBs are an absolute fire. I talk about them in all of my videos. You know I'm not bullish on the beginning sets of a series, so you know that I'm not super excited about these beginning sets for Scarlet and Violet. However, I have 4 of each available Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box in my collection because that is where I think the most value is going to be. I think there's exclusivity in it, and I think that there's a demand for it. So anyways, this confirms that at least so far in the Sword and Shield era, the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes have just absolutely blown everything out of the water. Then in the far right column, the way I really wanted to compare this between sets and between eras was to come up with a booster box to Elite Trainer box price ratio. So we'll just look at Silver Tempest because it's at the very top, right? The Elite Trainer box is $39. The booster box is $132. So the Elite Trainer box is 30% of the cost of a booster box right now. Now, I will say we have to take a lot of these Sword and Shield era sets, especially these newer ones, with a grain of salt because they're still available on Pokemon Center and booster boxes. You can buy the ETBs at Walmart and Target, and you can buy them for less than MSRP right now. So that really throws a wrench into the gear. The whole reason I wanted to start with Sword and Shield is so we can say, where are these now? We're going to look at Sun and Moon next, and we can see where Sun and Moon has been, and we can layer the two in. Like, hey, if Sword and Shield performs the way Sun and Moon did, this is where we can expect a lot of these prices to be in the future. That can guide us on, do we want to buy them now and do we want to pull the trigger? So when I look at the booster box and Elite Trainer box ratio here, if you go from top to bottom, it averages to 31%. But I wanted to call this out. Look at Rebel Clash. I don't know what is special about Rebel Clash Elite Trainer boxes. I don't know if they were crazy short printed, but I will tell you this. They're going for $160. That number was so crazy. I even went onto eBay and I looked at sold listings just to make sure that that's actually what they're selling for. They're actually selling for $160 when the booster boxes are going for $211. If you pull that statistical anomaly out, you end up with an average booster or Elite Trainer box to booster box price ratio of 27%, okay? And I think that's a pretty good spot to be at right now for the Sword and Shield era, and you're gonna see what I'm talking about once we get into Sun and Moon. So now that we've looked at these prices, now that we have the Elite Trainer box to booster box price ratio, let's look at rate of return for all of these different products in Sword and Shield. So you look at the ETBs, again, a lot of these you have to take with a grain of salt. You'll see a lot of negative ETB rate of returns. They're still available everywhere, so the rate of return is going to be low because they're selling for less than MSRP. But look at the Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs. Even though a lot of these are still available on Pokemon Center, they're selling for more than that. Just like we saw with the Brilliant Stars booster boxes, right? Like we kept scratching our heads. You can buy it on the Pokemon Center for $144. How come it's selling for $178 on eBay? It doesn't make sense, but it's happening. And it's the same thing with these Pokemon exclusive ETBs. Like the excitement, the demand is there for them, and they are outperforming regular ETBs hand over fist right now. Then we look at the booster box column. Look at the rate of return for all of those booster boxes, right? Again, it's kind of all over the place, and that's going to be dependent on the supply right now because Sword and Shield is still a relevant era, right? It's not completely sunset like Sun and Moon that we're going to look at in just a second. But let's look at the averages. So the average Elite Trainer box for the Sword and Shield era has an 11% rate of return. Nothing to shake a fist at. That's a great rate of return. Then you look at the Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, and it's just crazy. They have a 57% rate of return. Now, that's mainly being driven by Silver Tempest, which is astronomical right now, and you got Evolving Skies. I do expect Silver Tempest to normalize. I think that 57% is going to come back down, but it is still going to be head and shoulders above the regular ETBs for this era. Coming in last place is the booster boxes, right? The booster boxes have an 8% rate of return on average for the Sword and Shield era up to this point. As I said earlier, I'm going to hammer it home before we get into Sun and Moon. All of this we're taking with a grain of salt. All of this is to give us a baseline today where these sets are. Sun and Moon that we're about to look at is hopefully going to give us a little bit of a glimpse into the future, right? Nothing's guaranteed, but we will see how other sets have performed, and then we can start layering that in. If Sword and Shield does what Sun and Moon did, this is what we can expect. So, let's get into Sun and Moon right here. This is a much, much better gauge. Look at these ETB prices. Look at these booster box prices. Look at the Elite Trainer box to booster box price ratio. The average here is 47%. You don't have any crazy anomalies. Unlike Unbroken Bonds, that's probably the only one that's up to 82%. But when your average is 47%, yeah, you know, that's one is way, way high. But it's not like in the last series, right, where we saw one that was just totally unrelated to the other ones. 82% is high, but it's not so crazy that I decided to pull it out. So the average Elite Trainer box to booster box price ratio is 47%, which is absolutely bonkers. If Sword and Shield follows the Sun and Moon trend, that means there is a ton of upside in Elite Trainer boxes in the Sword and Shield era. The other thing that I want to call out, and another thing that we talk about all the time on this channel, I always talk about how all the videos layer on top of each other, right? When we're talking about the booster box videos, when we're talking about the grading videos, when we're doing this types of videos, like this is why I feel like the whole library of content is relevant, and it allows us to build this awesome knowledge around Pokemon collecting and investing, is look at the first three sets of this era and look at the last three sets of this era. The first three sets of this era have the lowest Elite Trainer box to booster box price ratio, and the last three have the highest. I talk about how I'm not excited about this launch of Scarlet and Violet, and that's because I have just seen so much data about the beginning sets of new eras underperforming. I was the only, I don't know if I was the only one, I shouldn't say that, but I certainly was one of the first ones to come out with a video on saying why I'm not buying Scarlet and Violet booster boxes, and I'm telling you the singles performance thus far has been womp womp, nothing too great. But look at all of this. Really, all of the Elite Trainer boxes are absolutely going nuts. Let's look at the rate of returns to confirm what we think we're seeing right here. So look at these rate of returns for Elite Trainer boxes versus booster boxes. Absolutely crazy. Everything. 10 of the 12 are up. So that means 10 of the 12 sets that we're looking at, the Elite Trainer boxes have a higher rate of return than the booster box. The other two are flat. You look at Sun and Moon base set, you look at Burning Shadows, Sun and Moon has a 7% rate of return for the Elite Trainer box, 7% rate of return for booster box. Burning Shadows has an 18% rate of return for Elite Trainer box, 18% rate of return for booster box. Other than that, top to bottom, without question, the Elite Trainer boxes have all outperformed the booster boxes. And this is with a lack of a Pokemon exclusive version. This is just straight up Elite Trainer boxes. This is incredibly powerful and impactful information. And again, just because I like to beat the dead horse as only the PikiPikaPapa can, look at the first four and look at the last four. Look at Crimson Invasion, Burning Shadows, Guardian Rising, Sun and Moon. Look at the return rates on the Elite Trainer box there. 10, 18, 18, 7. Now look at them for Cosmic Eclipse, Unified Mind, Unbroken Bonds, and Teamed Up. 89, 71, 78, 69. When I tell you all that I'm not putting a ton of money into these Scarlet and Violet sets right now and I'm waiting for the later series to come out, all of this is why I'm doing that, okay? So let's look at X and Y. I told you I was gonna pull XY. Usually I just look at Sun and Moon and I just compare it to Sword and Shield, but for this exercise I thought, you know what? I really want to pull in some even older stuff. Let's go back 8 years instead of 6. Let's look at 31 sets instead of 27, and here's what we ended up with. Look at Evolution, Steam Siege, Fates Collide, Breakpoint, Breakthrough, Ancient Origins, Roaring Skies. Some incredibly strong numbers here in regards to Elite Trainer Box to Booster Box ratio. We have 3 Elite Trainer Boxes that are going for more than the frickin' booster box, which again, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I will say this, buy and hold wasn't nearly the in vogue thing back when XY is out as it is now. The number of buy and hold collectors like myself, I wasn't around in the XY era. I certainly am around in Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield. I am buying and holding. It didn't exist back then. So I expect these Elite Trainer boxes to be harder to find. That is to be expected. So this is why I didn't go all the way back. Like when you start getting past Roaring Skies, these Elite Trainer boxes, they go for like $2,500. So it wasn't even worth looking at. But I'm telling you, the ones that are available, it is amazing to see the performance of these Elite Trainer boxes over time. And of course, you know, since we looked at the prices, we got to look at the rate of return as well. And here's what we ended up with. Solid rates of return from top to bottom. You know, I was telling you here, look at 29, 46, 32, 28, 29, 54, 48. All of them, with the exception of XY Evolutions, which is flat, 29% ETB, 29% booster box. All of the Elite Trainer boxes outperform the booster boxes, which is just absolutely mind-boggling. I will be honest with you, when I started this exercise, I didn't know which one was going to be the better bet. I really didn't. For my gut made me think it was going to be booster boxes, but Elite Trainer boxes, hands down, have been the winner from beginning to end. So when we sum it all up, when we look at it all together, the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes are the hands down winner in this entire competition. Now, we need to see it flushed out a little more. I want to see it get through some Scarlet and Violet series. Like, I want to see more product out there with more time behind it to understand it. But I'm telling you right now, that is where I'm putting my money on these early Scarlet and Violet sets. So overall, Elite Trainer boxes have a rate of return on average, which is crazy, 29%. Average rate of return for all 8 years, for all 31 sets that we looked at. Elite Trainer boxes have a 29% rate of return on average. Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes, again, take it with a grain of salt, very small sample size, but those are at 57%. And booster boxes are at 18%. The number that really jumps out to me, forget about the Pokemon Center exclusive ones right now, just look at the all column, ETBs at 29%, booster box at 18%. There's no contest. There really isn't, right? Now we'll look at Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield's average rate of return on ETBs is 11%. Pokemon Center ETBs, the only arrow we have it is 57%. Booster boxes at 8%. Sun and Moon ETBs 42%. Booster box 26%. XY ETBs 38%. And booster box 20%. When we look at all 31 sets, 22 of the 31 Elite Trainer boxes outperformed the booster boxes in regards to rate of return. 3 of the ones that are left over were flat. So that means only 4 of them, only 4 Elite Trainer boxes in regards to rate of return underperform the booster boxes. And guess what? All of those 4 are in the Sword and Shield era. And we talked about how we have to take that with a grain of salt. So that still needs to flush out. I am telling you right now, it is hard for me to think of a more data-supported, trend-supported, age, battle-tested investment theory or collecting theory than collecting Elite Trainer boxes. And again, I still think the Pokemon Center exclusive ones are going to be the way to go in the future. And I want to end it with this. Listen, I don't care what you collect. I want you to collect what makes you happy. I am personally still buying booster boxes. I'm not buying as many booster boxes as I'm buying of Elite Trainer boxes, and I'm certainly not buying as many Elite Trainer boxes as I'm buying of Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes. But I want exposure to all 3 products, right? I also feel like, hey, listen, Elite Trainer boxes have a lower point of entry. You can buy them for $49.99, $69.99, whatever they're going for nowadays. But booster boxes, it takes a lot more capital to get in. I also think that when you go to divest those later, it's easier to sell at a lower price point. Listen, if you need to sell a $1,000 booster box or a $500 Elite Trainer box, it might be easier to move the $500 Elite Trainer box. I don't know. I also like having more product, right? If I can have 10 booster boxes and I can have 20 Elite Trainer boxes, hey, listen, I can sell 10 of the Elite Trainer boxes, still have 10 left over, and still have lots in my personal collection. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying don't buy booster boxes. I'm just saying if you are truly in this for a buy and hold perspective, the data shows clearly that Elite Trainer boxes, at least over the last 8 years, has been the way to go. And if you have made it to the end of this video and you're not a subscriber yet, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. We do all kinds of fun stuff like this, but we also sprinkle in some openings and we sprinkle in some other fun content, top 10 cards. I always share the stuff that I'm going after month, so hopefully we're having a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this content, and I hope you guys have an epic day. Thank you all so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.